So there's this comment that I've seen going around in a lot of finance channels, and you've probably seen it too, but it goes like this: Fed printer go. So I thought, yeah, let's talk about the Federal Reserve. And then I was reminded, Andrei, no one's gonna watch a video that's called The Future of Money in a Fed-Directed Deflationary but Self-Imposed Inflationary Economic Outlook. So today, let's talk about jobs that make $1 million per year, because that sounds way more exciting, and let's face it, you've got nothing better to do before you go to sleep, and neither do I. So let's get to those jobs, starting with my all-time favorite. So step one, grab yourself one of these and don't sniff them. Otherwise it looks like that. And step two, grab yourself a notepad and just draw a $100 bill, because we can. I'm not an artist, so I'm gonna do this really, really quickly. Okay. And there's my terrible $100 bill. And just like the Federal Reserve, we can take this money and print it away. And there we have a $100 bill. How nice. All we gotta do is this 10,000 times and now we're millionaires. Actually, we'd be billionaires and trillionaires because we'd be robbing people through hidden inflationary taxes, but we won't be talking about that. Everything is just fine. So if you could do me a favor and that like button and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Now let's begin. Hi, my name is Andrei Jikh. Hope you're doing great, staying safe and sane during these insane times. But $1 million per year is precisely $83,333 per month. And that is much more than what the US average household income is for the entire year. And if you and I were video game characters and we were just walking around, we had all these different attributes that we could put skill points into, it is said that our happiness attribute will no longer go higher after earning $75,000 per year. That means $36 per hour, or roughly $6,250 per month, after which point we reach the point of diminishing returns. Making more money than $75,000 per year will not make us happier. And that's because, and I'll totally paraphrase here, mo money, mo problems. But here's some interesting facts. The Credit Suisse Global Report right now shows that 1% of the richest people control 44% of the entire world's wealth. In fact, the top 10 billionaires right now have more money than the entire GDP of Saudi Arabia, Switzerland, Turkey, Taiwan, Poland, Sweden, Belgium, Thailand, and Iran. Now, in order to be considered part of the 1% here in the United States, you need to make an average of $400,000 per year, but that varies state to state. For example, here in Las Vegas, Nevada, where I live, you need to make roughly $469,000 per year to be considered the 1%. But if you live in New York City, for example, then you need to make $702,000 to be considered the 1%. But what's crazy to me is that the President of the United States right now is taking an annual salary of only $400,000 per year, which is still a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but that's still way below what some people are making at their ordinary jobs. And speaking of those gerbs, let's get into number one right now. And coming in at number one is the medical/healthcare industry. And there is a ton of jobs that pay an obscene amount of money, starting with cardiologists, anesthesiologists, plastic surgeons, and neurosurgeons. This is the golden standard of careers that comes with a rubber stamp of, you have my permission to marry my daughter without asking. But if you can handle working on someone's brain, the grueling hours, and the stress of knowing your job is so important to saving someone's life, then you can make $400,000 to $500,000 per year and up. The downside is that you need 13 years of schooling after high school. So you'll essentially be 30 by the time you start your career. The other downside is that the average debt carried to become these professions is anywhere between $200,000 to $300,000. Now these guys have a high salary, but that's still a lot of money to pay back. If you don't want to go down that route though, you can go down sales within the healthcare industry. True story, I went on a Tinder date with this one girl. Her and her family actually would do this, where they would travel to different doctor offices and they would try to sell new high-grade equipment for the doctors to use and recommend. It's almost like lobbying, but instead of politics, you're dealing with high-grade machinery or something as trivial as toothpaste. But they can make a lot of money and the sky's the limit. And at number two is the tech industry. Now people here easily make 6 figures per year. In fact, a software developer intern at Google makes over $7,000 per month. But the big bukus actually go to the senior software developers that work at FANG. That's Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. And the people there can easily make hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, if you're a senior tech lead engineer like this guy, was, then you can easily make over $500,000 after bonuses and incentives. The only problem with getting this job isn't actually the education or the amount of money that it takes to learn this. It's actually not that difficult. The difficult part is the fact that you need to have some basic interest to want to learn how to code. If you have no interest, you will not be able to force yourself to learn how to code unless you really want to do it. But if you don't want to work for the FANG companies, then the second option is to go super basic and invent an app like Flappy Birds, or my personal favorite, Infinity Blade. That was addicting. I don't know why they took it off the App Store. And coming in at number 3 is finance, or basically become one of Mr. Beast's friends. Seriously, have you seen what he gives away? He's given away an entire house, a couple Lamborghinis, an entire $1 million, and just recently, an island. Because I never knew I wanted to relive Castaway. As long as I get my own Wilson, sign me up. Just kidding. Number 3 is an investment banker slash hedge fund manager. Now, if you've watched my videos about the stock market with Raoul Pal, then guarantee you he's the guy that's made well over $1 million at the peak of his career. And if you're smart, you can become a managing director in just about 10 years. That's 3 years as an analyst, 3 years as an associate, 3 years as a VP, and 1 year as an executive director. But that's the best case scenario according to efinancialcareers.com. The average time it takes to become an MD is actually 17.5 years. So imagine you turn 40 to start your career. You're like, finally, I'm here. What'd I miss? And at number 4 is the law. So of course, no surprise there. Ton of different flavors to select from when deciding which attorney you want to be. And if you do a quick Google search, you're going to see the top 5 highest paid ones are guys like corporate lawyers, tax attorneys, IP attorneys, trial attorneys, and medical lawyers. But the one I think that gets paid the most is actually a class action lawyer. And this is the one that you might have seen commercials that go like this. Have you recently taken Nido Queen for your back pain and now you feel a sudden urge to buy Pokemon cards? Contact the number down below and you may be owed some money. If they can get enough people to come together that have been hurt by a specific product and a specific company, and if they have enough evidence to back their case, they can sue that company for tens of millions of dollars and have them settle. That money then gets distributed amongst the people, as well as for the lawyer who takes a pretty substantial percent of that settlement. So you can easily make well over $1 million per year doing this. This happens a lot in the healthcare industry with companies like Johnson & Johnson that get sued all the time. The problem with this profession though is not the $145,000 worth of debt that you're gonna have trying to get this career. Instead, it's the high stress job of trying to figure out exactly how to solve other people's problems using something as complicated and inefficient as the law. And for that reason, a lot of people don't think it's worth it, but if you're a lawyer, I'd love to hear your experience down below. And at number 5 is consulting, and this one is so fun. It's probably one of my favorite things that I've ever done when I got to be the lead cardistry consultant for the Now You See Me movies, specifically for the second film. So I was flown out to London for 2 months to train the cast in person. So instead of using CGI and special effects and green screen, instead, we actually taught them in real life so that they don't have to use that expensive CGI special effects budget. So as a consultant, your job is to basically come up with creative solutions on the spot to help your clients. But it doesn't have to be for cardistry or magic. It happens a lot in the corporate world, and it's called corporate restructuring. The problem with this though is that it's not something you can create or apply for. It's just something that your clients find your work over time, and if they like your creative solutions to problems, then they'll hire you. But if you can get that gig, then you can easily make 7 figures for the contract. Now, I didn't make that much money because I was just an employee of the company that hired me, but 10 out of 10, coolest experience I would do for free again. And at number 6, day trading stocks. Had to throw this one in here. Very similar to the hedge fund manager position, except you're using your own money to trade with to make yourself rich. This is not my cup of tea. I don't know much about day trading, so I stick with being a boring blue chip dividend investor. So if I become a millionaire with stocks, it's gonna take me 10 or 20 years, a lot longer, but a lot more consistently as well. But if you wanna be a day trader, go ahead and do it. I'll just say one thing against it, which is working from home is nowhere near as glamorous as people make it seem. Working around other humans that you can touch and see and preferably not touch, but just hang out with, it is a way more healthy lifestyle choice than just working from home alone, because working alone is very hard. Trust me, is difficult. And at number 7 is real estate investing or real estate agent. So if you can just buy a bunch of properties on leveraged money, rent them out, you can eventually sell them for a fortune later down the road. Or you can become a hotshot realtor and just sell millions of dollars worth of property and make over $1 million a year. 2 of my friends here on YouTube, Meet Kevin and Graham Stephan, have actually done just that. They became millionaires long before YouTube, which is not something I'll ever say I got to do, so I definitely look up to them. But what I love about real estate is that I love looking at houses, I love working with people, and I love the fact that it gives you so much flexibility and it doesn't take a lot of time to get good at, and it doesn't take a lot of money to get started with. If I could pick right now any options on this list, it would be this one and the next one. And number 8, social media person. Of course, whether that's YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, you can make over $1 million a year from the comfort of your own home making videos. Believe it or not, I think in the future, I hypothesize that these kinds of incomes will no longer be around as more and more people join these platforms and compete for roughly the same amount of money. So we're not gonna have these crazy kind of incomes forever, which is why I'm encouraging people to join, which is also why this video is sponsored by still nobody. I have nothing to sell you. But if you want me to feature some of my friends that do this for Instagram, Facebook, yes, you can make over $1 million on Facebook making videos. I know, what? Or even YouTube, let me know. It just always felt weird being like, how I make $100,000 per month on YouTube. It just feels like I'm showing off unless somebody asks. And even though I personally watch those videos because they're really inspirational, I do think there's a line that's crossed at some point where it goes from inspirational to just downright upsetting and unrelatable. Thanks, Meet Kevin. Please let me know and I will make videos about that too. Now, many of these obviously take years and some may even take decades, but ask yourself, is that the kind of time that's worth sacrificing in order to get that kind of salary to set yourself up for life? That's only something you can answer, but the reason why I made this video is just to make a point. And the point is that there's no such thing as a job that's gonna pay you $1 million a year except for these special exceptions. There's no job application you can fill out, no resume you can submit anywhere on the internet right now that's gonna offer you that kind of salary. Trust me, I looked on Indeed and Monster.com, so it must be true. You have to create these kind of jobs. It's almost like working at McDonald's and being a hamburger flipper. You can do that, or you can become a world sought-after famous Nobu chef that makes the best sushi and hamburgers in the world. Both are kind of the same concept, except one of those people treats it like an art form and the other treats it like a job. I tried modeling my YouTube career after that same mindset, where I had 3 random skills that had nothing to do with each other, from my love for personal finance, to magic, to video production. Try getting a job with those 3 skills. You won't be able to. I tried. So I had to create something for myself by mixing these random ingredients in a way that made sense. It didn't. It still doesn't, but thank you for being here. We're almost done. When I used to be a video editor for a magic company on the internet, my ceiling was about $50,000 per year. That was the most I had ever earned. But my friend, who's basically doing the exact same thing, started his own production house, hired employees, and outsourced his work, and he's making several $100,000 per year. The point is, you could be a doctor working at a hospital and earning $200,000 per year, which is great. Or you could take a risk, start your own practice, and earn 5 times that. The overall point is that any job virtually can be converted into $1 million a year job. You just have to create it and then scale it up from there. Understand that extremely high value jobs that pay over $1 million a year or something within that ballpark are not dependent on the amount of hours that you work, because every one of those regular jobs has a ceiling. It has a limit to how much money you can earn. And there's no way that you can make up for that lost amount of money for the amount of hours that you spend, because there's only a finite amount of hours in the day. So you have to have a job that affects thousands or millions of people's lives. And if you can do that, then you can provide a ton of value to a lot of people. I think that's really counterintuitive to what we're taught in school, when we're taught to have a one-track mind and follow a certain path to focus on one thing. And the second thing I've learned is that making $1 million a year really isn't everything, which is something I thought I'd never say. And I wish I could show myself saying this to the me of 1 year ago when I just started YouTube, because I feel like I've reached that maximum happy level when I made my first $50,000 here on YouTube. Because the point after that, you start to feel a lot more pressure and responsibility to get on the never-ending hamster wheel. But to be honest with you, as long as you're doing what you love and you do it on your own schedule, you'll feel just as happy as someone who's making $1 million a year. As long as you don't compare yourself to others, because that is the quickest path of getting your happiness just to fly away instantly. But in the meantime, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and sign up with Webull to get those 2 free stocks. Fund your account $100 to get that second free stock valued up to $1,400. This is the last month they're doing this promotion. Sign up with Webull to get your 3rd free stock. Follow me on Instagram. I post from time to time. Join my free Discord group. Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay safe, stay kind. Let me know in the comments down below if there's any jobs that I missed, and I'd love to cover them in part 2. Love you, and I will see you back on Monday, Friday, maybe a Wednesday. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.